a podcast about the game of life and the hero's journey we all experience. Let's jump in with our host, Dylan Watkins, as he introduces today's guest.
Welcome, adventurer. And on today's podcast, I have Kevin Clark and Imen Maaroufi. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. They are co-founders of Point Motion, a motion captured software for healthcare and education institutions that allow their clients to engage in music-based experiences where each interactions within the user experience collects data on the performance of cognitive and motor functions over time. So without any further delay, I'd like to welcome Kevin and Iman. Hello.
Hey, great to be here. Great to see you, Dylan.
Hi,
Hey,
Dylan. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to chat with you. I know you're friends with Rick, and I'm actually interested in your technology. I think it's really cool. Really cool technology that you guys are doing. But I'd love to start this off a little bit with how did you get started in this? Like, what kicked off this journey for you two?
Absolutely. Well, Imen and I came together around this mutual passion for using music, art, technology, bringing them together to solve human challenges. Point Motion stemmed from an unfortunate accident which left my cousin paralyzed from the waist down. I was going to Berklee College of Music and was studying jazz composition and film scoring. But I was really thinking about how I could use that skill that I was learning around using music to shape someone's experience. How could I apply that to something that would benefit somebody I cared about? That was sort of how the whole company started to be something bigger than just making music. So I patented the technology and I started this business, and eventually I met Imen, who really comes from a business background, and I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Yeah. Imen, yeah, that'd be great. How about you introduce and talk about where did you two meet and how did you kick things off?
Yeah, Kevin and I met when I was going to grad school in Boston, and something was special about him is that his ability to be musical but also entrepreneurial. As soon as we met, we connected on a deep level of like talking about EEGs and vision and like machine learning, and he had an amazing 3D printer in his office, and from there like we started like engaging in more conversations about how to use technology for good. And he had a really inspiring story, and I am a hard believer in like design thinking and human-centered design and like how we have to create things that serve humans. And I feel we aligned on that vision and we started working on this together, and now our team is getting bigger. Rick is actually our friend but also our mentor, and we are at Winston-Salem, and we work from an incubator called Winston Starts. That's how Rick got to know us, and I feel we are at the middle of a beautiful journey to keep seeing what we could offer to help people.
Cool. So how's it like being a part of an incubator? I know a lot of people they really want to be a part of incubators, and then when you get on the inside. So talk to me a little bit about your experiences on the inside of the incubators. Like what's been some takeaways for you?
Honestly, it's amazing because like you get to talk about problems that people heard about. Either they have been in facing those problems or they heard about somebody else facing those problems. I feel there is a lot of guidance, but also that there is a lot of empathy between lots of people who have maybe close age gap, because maybe there are people who are on the extreme of like the age, but I could definitely say there is like a very close age between those people, and like very similar daily living stories, like people who believed in an idea most of the time bigger than them and tried to gather lots of talented people around them, most of the time more talented than who they are actually, but then get to strive not knowing what tomorrow is hiding for us, but like we all have that gut to continue, and I think that is very supportive and prevents lots of anxiety, I would say.
Definitely. Yeah, I think being an incubator, for like having that camaraderie, that shared experience of I'm taking a leap of faith into pursuing something I really believe in. It in a way, it can definitely make you run faster. I think so. It's been an inspiration. It's been good to be a part of a community like that. Any entrepreneurs out there who are interested in taking that bet on themselves, I think you have to be in that. It only serves you to be around other people who are doing that as well, because you have to learn from each other's experiences.
Yeah, there is power in the community. There's definitely a power being around other people that are on that crazy path of a vision that you want to be able to do, right? That is, you have to birth it into existence. You have to create it from nothing. You have a little spark of an idea that you just kind of have to like blow on and then make bigger over time. What have been things that you've seen? Is it like whether it's rituals a part of the incubator, or what are some of the things that you've seen that either been like helpful or maybe like unexpected things that have kind of maybe you weren't predicting but actually happened that gave you a lot of value?
Well, it wasn't that it was unexpected, but I had been in other incubators before, and they were kind of hands off in the sense that they give you the space, they give you, somebody there to support. But like here at the incubator we're in at Winston Starts, they provide like a whole online resource catalog, as well as like in-person sessions, workshops, like towards specific skills, whether it be from legal to accounting to the latest technology that that they're trying to introduce to those ideas to the community. So like for me, that was kind of one of the pleasant things that I feel like was kind of stand out for me. What made it more engaging. What are your thoughts, Imen? I'm curious.
For me, I think one of the most beautiful things is like having 2 assigned mentors. We don't do one mentor to not, maybe this is my thinking, nobody ever told me about this, but maybe to not just be beholden to one person's opinion. So we get 2 assigned mentors that maybe have very different training, very different background, but that is very helpful. And the other unexpected thing, maybe because it's the South, there are events that are not related to business, like a birthday or like a Christmas party, or that you expect that sometimes in a bigger company to install that culture between employees, or maybe with more friends. But it feels at the same time like a place that keeps you accountable, but also like it's a family belonging kind of feeling, if I might say.
Yeah,
I agree.
The non-work related things are really important for keeping people together. It's an important thing. When you talk about accountability, what does accountability look like over there?
Well, we have I believe we have 2 meetings with them every year in regards to like our checkpoints, because they have a program with 3 stages as you go from like idea startup to like full scale. They have different checkpoints to see whether or not you advance to the next stage, or if you're, where you might need additional support. So like, every 6 months to end biannual, they have these checkpoints where really they're not really holding you accountable to what their expectations are, but to your own goals and your own milestones, to say, hey, you're in here because we believe that you're going to be able to grow. You said you're going to grow this much. Tell us, where do you stand? What happened? What that you expected? What didn't you expect? So like, they have a group of people, like 4 or 5 people, that will sit there with you and kind of go through that. And it definitely is valuable, and it supports kind of learning what are the steps, what are the routines that I have to do to check myself. Because I don't know, like for myself, I'm not I didn't go to business school. So like everything I learned about running a business happened, through experience in that way. So having a place like that where you can get that structure in place, and it's definitely helpful.
Yeah. Business school doesn't really help you that much. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I went to school for business.
Music
it doesn't
school,
really teach you. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and it doesn't really teach you very useful things per se. A lot of things you do get on the streets or in incubators where they kind of get more tactical, practical from people that have done it before.
Totally.
What do you think are the critical skills that you maybe that you either wish you learned or things that you are currently learning in terms of business? What are some of those skill sets that you're currently developing?
Imen, do you have? I'm curious again what your thoughts on that
Yeah.
are.
And I'll throw this out to either. So when I throw out a question, feel free to either person can grab it and just go for it.
Oh, I have some thoughts on it, but I'm curious what Imen's thinking.
Yeah, I think I'm learning a lot of things. I think every year there will be like a magnified set of interests that shows up that year. I think a lot in this year has been more about design strategy. So we sometimes get so caught up into the idea of having a product that sells and what are your margins and what is your business model and what are your channels and why haven't you hit those specific milestones. And I feel that there is a very, very important part before all of that happens that is about um, designing a good product, designing a good experience. And it does not mean until we get like to very advanced level to start thinking about design. I feel like design, behavioral design, how things look like for specific target population. For example, in our case, we work a lot with lots of people who have neurocognitive challenges, like neurodiverse people or like neurodegenerative diseases population. And like it is very important for us to think about designing products and how do these people feel. I also feel a lot of me, and even though in business, like I am learning more empathy every year, empathy towards the user, empathy towards the decision maker for the buying decision. And I feel all of those could shape lots of things. I'm learning more about different financial models, I could say. And
well, let's talk a little bit about because I want to dive deeper into human-centric design patterns, things like that, empathy of the customer. What about that for you? So what are some things that you learned? What is your process that you're currently working on for human-centered design, building out experiences? What does that currently look like?
Wow, that's an amazing topic. But most importantly, that for us there are desires of people, like of healthcare system, that wants to be able to engage their patients, improve their experience, as well as like financial struggles, as in like decreasing cost of care, or like bigger huge goals like improving overall healthcare outcomes for the whole population, or like even like listening to a physical therapist who's like talking about burnout. And those are like all things that we see. And when we try to solve problems in the healthcare industry like we are doing, it's like we have to learn empathy, but also have to be empathetic from different angles, because there are lots of like stakeholders in the picture. There are the users who feel frustrated, who feel like that their space is invaded by people coming to see them in their house. There is frustration about technology is so complicated, so they will be finding any excuse exactly to not do what they're supposed to do. Clinicians have very limited time, and at the same time they are trying to make money for the living, and there are lots of perspective to do that. So shadowing clinicians, talking more with patients, understanding how things should feel, or like the tone that we use, like even the vibrations of specific buttons, all of those are things that we're trying to nail on to satisfy the people who decide to work with us.
Yeah. So, I mean, so what you're talking about this is there's in business, there's always this. I want more with less. I want to be I want a more engaged customer with less employee payroll. I want to be easier and simpler and less effort. I don't want to change anything new, but I want to upgrade all my systems.
Absolutely.
And there's these contradictory patterns that happen over and over again, where you see that they want an engaged patient, which means they want patients that feel like that they care and that they matter and that they're important, but they also want to cut the payroll in half, which is,
well, what they really want to do is they want to get rid of the, like, sort of, right now in healthcare, we can't say whether it's because of the red tape, but I'll say because that red tape prevents a lot of innovation from sparking in this sort of like non-centralized, like, in the public sector. Like, it's hard, you have to go through the FDA and all that. So like what they really do, like the cost issues isn't really around payroll. It's more so around, can they take away the time that they have to spend for each person to write down every single note. Like, if you go to see a therapist, or even if you're going to monitor a patient remotely, if I'm doing a telehealth session with my patient, I'm going to have to write down all the information by hand. Afterwards, I'm going to have to input that information into my electronic data record. And instead of spending that time with another patient, they're spending their time behind a computer entering data by hand. And so what we see is an opportunity for us. We use the motion capture technology. So just any computer-enabled, camera-enabled device, like a laptop or a tablet, we're tracking the patient's movements and their interactions. And we're taking away the time that they have to spend counting reps or counting, range of motion, or, doing things in the memory space too. Like, how many sequences of movements can they remember? And all the time that they would have spent entering that data into a record by hand and generating those reports, they can now spend with patients and generate more revenue as a result. So like, right. I think the issue is more so around the sort of inefficient, how a lot of stuff is like on pen and paper, handouts, and we're moving it into a realm of digital interactive content, rather than sort of static, sort of outdated materials.
Yeah, Kevin spoke like about the inefficiency also of short term, but if you think about this on long term, like, there is the part that, like, you will be cutting costs on hospital readmissions, on like emergency readmission. Like, hospitals and the US healthcare system loses so much money yearly on not being able to expect or like to predict the emergency readmissions, or like how many beds are we going to be needing, or what are the quality of life of this specific population, so we know how to predict operations in the future. And I feel we definitely need healthcare analytics systems in place to be able to get there.
Sure, but you also have human problems. The human problem is this: I don't want to do anything new. Don't make me do anything new.
That is definitely a barrier.
Yeah. So you're right. Brand new tech, all these wonderful things, all that stuff. You're not competing with another app. You're competing with a pencil, right?
That's true.
Paper, right? Yeah. So I want to kind of get away from the kind of the big vision, all those things that we can do, and I want to talk about human-centered design. Yes. Human-centered design. Humans. These are humans that we're talking about here. And so the human issues, what is the process around the human-centered design issues? Like, so how do you take this? You take this, you shadow some of these people, right? You look at some of these problems, right? The problems are around the friction of them not wanting to adapt to new technologies, the friction of the areas, and what you're talking about, the value add, because you can only really add value in a couple of different ways. You can either make them money, you can save them money, you can save them time, right? Those are a couple of different ways that you can be able to do that. Are you making me money, saving me time, lowering friction? What are these things that look like? So with you, how do you take these lessons and these insights from shadowing these people, and what does your process look like for integrating it in to your value chain?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's an amazing question. So we do a little bit of all of those. So first, like, if you think about it, if I am a doctor, and I'm seeing you for the first time, I am torn between observing your behavior and taking lots of notes, and also dealing with the electronic health record that's where I asked you the first questions in the beginning of your visit, etc. And then maybe after you leave, I will have to have probably around 5 minutes to be able to fill the things that I did not have enough time to leave to take. So think about, I will go back again to a physical therapist. A physical therapist who sees 20 people. If you are saving him 5 minutes for those 20 people, and if I am like the chief of operations of that clinic and I have 6 PTs scheduled that day, and if you think about all that time that you have saved, so then the value that was created is that you saved them time, which means you saved them money. But in the beginning, it is making their job easier by automatically collecting data for them where they can go back and find it. That is only like a part for those people who administer those things. Now think about a perspective of somebody who is actually diagnosed with a specific condition, and how hard it is for them usually to go back home with a paper of stretches or activities that they have to focus on, and think about like that they have to report that. Sometimes like it could be 2 months until they see their doctor again. So sometimes you will forget about reporting these. And then
he's talking more about the human-centered design approach, not like the value. He's talking about how do we take the information we get from the interviews and bring them into our product. And so I think less so like about where is the value within the product itself.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying is if you're going from analog to digital, you save time. You save steps in the process. I completely I understand entirely. It's the whole digital revolution that we're going through. What I'm curious about is how do you onboard them to create a less frictionless system? How do you actually bring them through the process so that they actually adapt it? How do they go from resistant to rave enthusiasts? What does that process look like? How are you removing the human barriers of I have anxiety to learning new adoption technologies. I don't want to learn your tech because I'm comfortable with my old ways. How are you using human-centered design? Because that's what we're talking about is how do we use human-centered design to get them to adopt to your systems? What does that look like?
So I think a lot of it ended up starting with, as Imen said, like doing a lot of interviews, doing a lot of understanding, but from there ended up being really to say, rather, we developed a two-sided platform, not just the content that is interactive, but also a tool that allows the providers themselves to go in and customize the experiences that are being used out there in the public. So really, you say it's like, how are we making it like human-centered? It's like, because we are designing that human-centered design is coming from the very people who have been in the field for 10 or 15 years that have been suffering with the challenges of using these pen and paper experience. What like our design is towards is enabling them to digitize their ideas. What are the ways that they want to create and put sounds and stuff together? Like we understand if they were in an endless, if their brain was connected to a computer and they could make it do anything, how would be their process of putting together these ideas? Would they start with thinking, what's my outcome that I'm focused on? And then from there, think about what sort of experiences and movements and what sorts of sequence that would go in. And then they think about what kind of sounds does each movement. So we think about that sort of experience around from the content creator side itself. And that has been really how we make our content itself fit that sort of, the human needs that are within that segment of healthcare, because those people who are creating the content are specialists in Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, like their areas of specialization.
So if I understand you correctly, what you're talking about is though they have a certain thing that they need to have some sort of custom exercise that they need people to do. So then you have on the platform, you have the ability that allows the facilitator a way to be able to customize the software or customize the experience based upon how they would normally do it. So for example, I would want to be able to do an elbow bend or whatever that might be. So is that what you're saying? Is so you're allowing the facilitator to then adjust the customization of the types of exercises? And
imagine on the facilitator side, it would be more so like Netflix. Like you said, you kind of have to give innovation with a sort of something that people are comfortable and used to. Imagine it's just like Netflix, just like a video, but instead of it has an interactive element. What I'm talking about is even before the content gets to quote unquote Netflix, right? we have a tool that allows for that content, that interactive content, to get generated, so they can say, they can tell our, create different movements and poses with our motion capture, so that they can curate and put together these experiences, add videos, images, sound, kind of like you would use GarageBand or something like of that nature. So like there, and Imen can expand on like sort of like there are a lot of, as Imen was saying in the beginning, like there are a lot of directions in which we have to empathize. Number one, the provider who's out there working, who's kind of like the champion of the patient, maybe the patient's guardian or their family members, but then next to that, there are the tools that guardian, that provider uses in order to serve, the patient. And in that sense, like we see ourselves building a tool that isn't static and is going to be, stuck and dated in time. We've built a tool that allows for the content to evolve and be driven by the very subject matter experts who are out there in the field. And I think that has been sort of the differentiating factor in how we've approached this, and I think is going to allow us to have inclusive and accessible, because on the facilitator end, there is the option to say, oh, I want this song, or I want this exercise with this easy or this range of motion, or I want, but ultimately what's getting assigned to the patient is by the provider themselves. The facilitator has options to tweak and adjust that, whether preferred music or, different elements, but like there's a lot of different directions which we have to really think about.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about is this an authoring tool that allows people to an extent, create a bit of the pieces of Netflix that go into it. And I appreciate
there is that part of it.
That's great. When you went and shadowed the people, was there anything non-obvious that stood out to you that you weren't expecting to come across? When you went and shadowed the people and you followed them around and you saw what they were doing, is there anything that stood out to you going, oh, I did not expect that. That was something I didn't see coming by actually, boots on the ground?
Yes, I would say jumping from a software to a software, because like now, if you think about the last visit to a doctor, there was somebody, either a nurse or a doctor, inputting your data somewhere. And the thing that we're thinking about right now is like, so when we want them to use this tool, would they exit from that software to launch something else? Does it need to be an entry from there? Is it like, those are the questions that so small in the friction in order for us to eliminate that.
So what you're saying is they're jumping from software. So they're not using one holistic software. What they're doing is they're jumping from software to satisfy their needs. So they have a journaling, for example, journaling software, a tracking software, a payment software, whatever that might be. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. And so they're
I'm saying it is the opposite. I'm saying like what they would want is to have one thing that.
Yeah. Well, one way of managing all these different things, but yes, what we're talking about is actually to say, so there's one side that they want to access everything in one, but there is another side of it. It's like, if they can't, it's not feasible for their workflow. They can't, manage and have to manage and go through different software. If they have to re-sign in and do all that, it's just like every moment with the patient counts. So that, has been. We actually are very fortunate. We won the Venture Winston Grants program. We were selected as one of the grant recipients, and as a result, we're being mentored and work with Novant Health. They're putting out a press release that said we could announce it, though. We could tell it to people.
Oh, cool.
So we're working with them, and that's going to be like a key way for us to really iterate and sort of perfect that process, within a health system of people who understand, what needs to be in place to scale something like this.
So are they putting you in front of, when you're working with them, they put you in front of patients and clients and things like that? Or are they bringing you into their ecosystem in terms of
they're going to fully mentor us and guide us, and like they, are really going to put us in the position where we need to be successful. And that, has been a tremendous, I think that goes hand in hand what we're talking about, being a part of an ecosystem, like an incubator, getting yourself aligned with people who understand what you're jumping into from all directions is key. So I think especially in the digital health space, having opportunities like that are a huge way to de-risk and just, increase the odds of success.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when Steve Jobs was helping Pixar out when they're first getting started, one of the things is they wanted to attach themselves to Disney. And they said, well, why? Why do we want to be a part of Disney? He said, okay, because you're a tiny ship in a big ocean. And what he wants is you want to be on a big ship. Disney's a big ship. So if you get on that, if your little boat goes on top of a big ship, you can handle all the back and forth, especially in the healthcare space. It's really expensive to be in. I have a number of friends that are inside there, and it takes a lot to kind of get up and get going. What do you think right now? What do you think are some of the greatest challenges you're facing right now, and being in the startup healthcare space, and what you're trying to do?
Oh, there's definitely some exciting challenges. Imen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that the effects that music has on the brain, and like the duality of movement and music, is applicable to so many populations. So like we could talk about ADHD, autism. We could argue even like CP, cerebral palsy. We absolutely could say that it is beneficial for people with dementia, Alzheimer, Parkinson, because we're talking about movement disorders or like memory disorders, so like for cognition, etc. And we have always the urge of solving problems for the big world, and sometimes the challenges would be to pace and to see what are we trying to solve right now. So for example, there are like lots of healthcare systems right now who are focusing so much on seniors because it becomes even dangerous for them to go to their doctor visit like in person. So there is lots of inventions that are trying to help them within their home to be able to decrease those accidents and those frictions. At the same time, like working with pediatrics and working with kids who are very intuitive with technology, etc., is like very, very fun and very rewarding. So I would say for me that is the challenge.
So what you're talking about is niching down. The challenge is picking
100%.
one avatar, one group, one thing, because one's probably more emotionally rewarding and one's all more financially beneficial.
Yeah.
And so now you're at a crossroads between, do I go with that fills me up emotionally and have a struggling company, or do I go into the other challenging space that is more financially beneficial but feels like I'm selling a bit of my soul?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's every entrepreneur's dilemma every day.
That is.
So,
that is. That's one of the biggest challenges of transformative tech. With transformative tech it's the biggest challenge. Everybody wants to have $1 billion business where they're changing the lives of 1 billion people at the same time. That's the holy grail for a lot of people on this journey. But in this, what you're having is there's super common problems, and it's okay. It's a good thing to look at, and it's also to recognize it, so you can see right now where you're facing in terms of niching down, picking one lane, and going full into that group.
Yeah.
Do you have like, what are the metrics you're looking to define that group? Do you know what that is? At least what are the
we're looking at the frequency of assessment and the duration, the overall duration of that term of assessment. Like we're our strength. We look at our strengths and what we can do best, and the best way for us to support a patient is over a long period of time, and the accessibility component to it. And stuff that like people have to do a lot of over and over again, because music is going to take away the meniality and repetitiveness of it, the same way we do that for when we work out, right? We want to listen to music, and it takes away, it kind of renews the experience. And so for us, like, those have been the metrics, and we looked at everything on the board, and we've learned a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, the business was formed in 2017. So we've had a lot of opportunities to learn and grow, and we did a lot in the pediatric space, and we're continuing to do that. And we're seeing actually, I would say one of the other challenge, I'll touch on another challenge, was the fact that we had sort of like, we had a process of discovering where is the care for pediatrics really taking place? Because in reality, our initial understanding was that, occupational therapists and those, sort of developmental therapists are the ones doing the, overall, long-term care of children with special needs. But what it turns out really is that they do more of the diagnosis and touch points, but the people doing the long-term care of children with special needs are in the school districts. Sometimes they are occupational therapists, but they're teachers, special education programs. So we've been having actually a lot of success in those programs, and kind of sort of validating what I'm saying is that like this is something that should be used repetitiously through those long periods of care. And school districts is a place where we actually found, a great opportunity, and we've been having great, feedback. So, they're expanding that into more of their programs. So it's fun and to see that, sort of traction touch. But, our vision is to really see these tools fit into those niches. So we're looking at special education, but, we're always looking at where can we be the best, and where does music, movement, and that sort of interactive experience, where does that stand to make the biggest impact? Because I don't necessarily think that we would be the best like MSK app out there. You have apps and programs that are like for people who have spinal challenges, or they're just coming out of, maybe a shoulder injury and they have to do rehab. Like I think that we can do that well, but that's not where we're going to be the best. And so we've been focusing on those segments, those niches where we can be the best.
Mm. And so you said that was your holy grail. Is that what you're saying? Is that you said you want to, is your holy grail your goal? Is that something that you're looking for? Like you said, you want to fit in these different niches, or what is your goal?
Our goal is to serve this digital interactive content as a ways of making the patient provider connection and remote care more seamless, more accessible, more inclusive, and essentially have this content platform where providers who are serving, whether it be children with with disabilities or a senior with Parkinson's, that they can have a content package that can collect data while engaging their patient in a way that increases their adherence. All this comes down to patient adherence. How do we get patients to stick with their therapy programs and have the accountability and the reward for doing that regularly? And sort of that is really where our holy grail mission is, by using music and inclusive human-centered design in order to enable providers to access that content, and very much so through that authoring tool that we were talking about.
Sure. So you want to be the Netflix of motion and music therapy.
I think that would be in alignment with what our vision is, as long as you also take into account, like I said, the development of tools that allow for that content to be generated. Because right now there already is a video platform, but we are looking beyond video. We're looking at data collection on a much more granular and insightful way, where we can see changes in reaction time and cognitive and motor function. Like, whereas like if it was just Netflix, maybe you see how long somebody watches a video, but you don't know if they were sitting down watching it the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah, so maybe right now that's what people want. Like maybe right now people are solving for, did somebody do it or not? But what we're trying to do, we're trying to also give them like, what was the quality of the movement? How do you know that this person's going to be better in a week? So
yeah. Have you looked at virtual reality?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
We're both passionate about.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'll tell you about a cool one that I saw. So I've ran a lot of virtual reality hackathons.
We participated in many too.
Maybe we were there just hacking away.
It's possible. I've taught them over at MIT and USC and UCI.
We did at MIT too. So
were you at the virtual reality hackathon?
Yes.
Was it 2017?
2017. I was one of the winners.
You're one of the winners. Okay, I think we're there. I was there 2000.
Or 18, 19, Kevin was also there.
Yeah, you were there? Okay, I might have seen you. So we were inside the multi-structured MIT Media Lab things with all the
I love
things. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So I was one of the organizers, me and Steven. So
Oh,
Steven's
nice.
Steve is a very, very good friend of
yeah,
ours.
yeah. Steven, I know Steven very, very
Oh,
well.
that's
Me,
awesome.
We do
I spent,
too.
we built that place up, and then we go to his house at the end of the night, have a bottle of wine together at midnight, get up at 4 a.m. and do it again. That guy's got more grit than anybody I know. So,
Oh,
He
wow,
was
that's
amazing.
awesome.
He's
so
so passionate about
yeah, it's super
reality
fun.
virtually.
Yeah.
It's
So
amazing.
me and him put together an event over at USC called Creating Reality Hackathon. There was actually one piece of tech there that is, it's not the exact same thing, but I'll tell you because it somewhat relates. And it's one of the better use cases I've seen is someone took shaky cam technology. So, shaky cam, like if you're going to try to take a photo, right? You're trying to take a photo and it stabilizes that. What they did is they took it and they put that inside the controller, inside a normal controller that you have here. So
Yeah.
people with Parkinson's, it would normalize their hand. So in VR, you would then do exercises. I don't know if they had music or not set up, but then you would do exercises. But the thing is, it would train their hands because very much like phantom limb syndrome.
Yeah.
So it's the same type of effect. Is that through the visual, you're getting that visual feedback that your hand is stable, and then they're feeding it through that system. And it's one of the ways that they looked at it. I thought it was a great use case of doing that. Yeah, there was some cool tech at those hackathons. And because I saw that as Imen, you said that you guys do those hackathons a lot. Is that
when we were down in Boston?
Yeah.
So I hacked a lot with MIT, the Media Lab, but also there is MIT Hack for Inclusion as well. I do that with them. They're not particularly in VR, but they're more of the how do we get the idea about the human-centered perspective to things. But yeah, that was
That's
a lot
cool.
when we used to live in Boston.
Those Boston people, they know how to party and they know how to work.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
they got
Boston's a good time.
Those guys are those are some hard people. I'm
Oh
over
yeah,
here, I'm over here in
You gotta
California.
keep up with the winter.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I did not respect the winter when I went over there. I tried to go in the snow. I tried to jog in the snow, and I thought I was gonna die.
Oh yeah,
it was awful. So, but man, I respect the tech that comes out of there. So that's why I was curious. I was curious about that journey that you had along the way with that. So looking at hackathons, innovations, ideations, things like that, with some really smart people along the way. What do you think for yourselves going along? You said you'd be niching down for avatars and getting those people along the way. So you niche down the avatars, getting along the way. You have the big goal of the interactive Netflix for music therapy, right? Possibly VR. Possibly metaverse. You want to throw any of those buzzwords on top of it.
I like that.
Right.
Now we're hitting very sensitive places.
So rolling with all that energy in that direction. Looking at that, what do you think right now are some of the challenges that you're facing? Like we're trying to get into these spaces. So if you niche down these avatars, what are a couple of the other core skills, core things that you need to figure out to kind of help you along your journey?
To be honest, I would say the number one thing that I would say at this point is going to be improving how we connect with the people who we need to connect with, because, like whether that be for sales, whether that be for raising capital, whether that be for whatever it is, like what changes everything, you could be doing the same thing over and over again. All you need to do to change and bring wind into your sail is connect to the right person. How do you meet that person? How do you get in front of them at the time where their mind and souls are open to envisioning what we've seen? Like those are the skills that I think that are the most crucial in every, if that skill is perfected, you can get anything done.
The power of networking.
100%.
Yeah, that's very true. Powerful network, expand your network, right time, right place, all those things. You're right. That makes a ton of sense. Have you considered a podcast, perhaps? That might be.
Oh, you know what?
That might be a thing for you.
I do report live in the metaverse. That's another discussion.
Oh, that's cool. Let's I'm gonna touch on that, but give me 1 second. I want to come back to something, and then we'll talk about the metaverse thing.
No,
So
just a side note.
Side note, I will come in. We will dive into that, but real quick on this other thing. What about, you're talking about this? You said that one of the biggest challenges you have is attrition. One of the challenges you have, what I mean by that is people coming back and reusing the system, getting that stickiness to actually get people to want to do therapy, because therapy's work, therapy's boring, therapy's repetitive. It's something that is not enjoyable, right? So you talked about that being one of the challenges. How have you attempted to tackle that problem? What have you done, and what are the ways have you done to try to both learn about what to do and apply that, and what results have you seen in that area?
Yeah, we work a lot on reward, and that's the whole point of why we started working with music. And like the music, like when you move your body, you make a sound, there is a cause and effect, there is dopamine, there is an enjoyment, there is a continuation. But I'm also glad that you brought VR, because if we are talking about immersive experiences where you're actually convincing the person of the reality of the matter, then I could see lots of applications in the VR world. And I think that rewards could be even much more than just like a value that they get through senses. It could be a monetary value. It could be a point system. It could be there are like lots of assumptions on how we could use reward to inhibit bad behaviors and like reinforce good ones. We were successful so far with music, but like now we could also like consider lots of other aspects, especially with how the technology is going and our personal interest to that.
Yeah.
Got it. So we're talking about is going from simply pleasure of just receiving to an interactive experience, something that is more interactive, that's got more feedback, that's got more ability to get more data points along the way. Yeah, absolutely.
Reward and let users own that value of saying, I did my exercise today. And there's a lot of owning that and being able to really own every push-up, own every, own to your doctor, like an undeniable, value of saying, I did what you told me to do. Like right now, what that is just me telling my doctor, but me being able to tell and show my doctor, this is what you told me to do and I did it. And like that has value to it. And I think that is the next, like that humans, beyond the intrinsic enjoyment of the experience, that them feeling that immediate value gain, and that is through data and what that data can represent. And you mentioned, virtual reality, metaverse, like that. I think that has a big part to do with it. We see a lot of things like Beat Saber, a lot of exercise experiences in that sense. So, without giving too much detail away, I'll say we definitely have our sights, and this year we're going to be doing a lot in terms of expanding and experimenting, let's say, with these ideas.
Cool. Yeah, there's a ton you can do. I know that there was a fitness experience at the MIT hackathon that was basically a Beat Saber clone with feet tracking that you could kind of sing and dance to. Yeah, it was great. It was actually really fun. I had a lot of fun. Going through it.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things you can do. So I mean, just some thoughts on that is, so with the virtual reality headset, so with the Quest headset, which you may or may not be targeting.
Oh yeah.
And inside that they have the cameras, and so with those cameras, you have access to the data coming in through there. So keep in mind with that access, you can see pretty much around you for a lot. So imagine you could have some sort of way of the same way that you have your Connect sensor system tracking that, right? You could do that data tracking as well. So you can track the feet movement. You can track it, because I know there's other people that are doing things like that. So that are able to actually track, the feet and that kind of stuff as well. We have a question that popped in. Let's see here. How do you guys cope with working with Imen when she's oh, wow.
Wow.
All right. That was a really intense question there. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bypass that one. I'm going to say
I think some people might be a little intimidated by a brilliant woman here, but
hey, by the way, welcome to the internet, folks. Welcome to the internet.
I'm happy people are curious about my moods. I could take it as love.
Wow, that's super intense. So You know, people. It's so funny that one of the things that whenever I get, whenever it's the man in the arena who counts. Do you know that quote?
No,
No,
No.
I
no.
like that though.
It's there's a lot of people. They get really part of being successful as an entrepreneur is putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
right, and so like and it's really it's the people that put themselves out there. It's their opinions that count and those types of things, and it's a really big challenge sometimes for people to put yourself out there, and then also people that talk shit. So you put yourself out there, people talk shit. But the problem is by building anything of value or anything immediate or whatever, there is a really intense thing about putting yourself out there, and and then you were like, oh my god, how do I deal with it? I have an example. I have another entrepreneur friend, and this is going to be a little much, but we're going to dive into it because thank you for the other person over there. I have a friend named Frances. She built her own entrepreneurial company up from the ground up. She built a sex device. It's a post cleanup sex device, which is basically a stick with a sponge on it. So after sex, you put it in the woman, cleans it up, pulls it out. And she had to be the face of the company. And so she had to, and she's married and all that stuff, but she had to go out there on camera, on live, go out there and go, I made this thing, or her dad's helping fill her orders for her.
Yeah.
Right. All that stuff, right? Loading up like a truck bed full of this stuff, driving, and she's doing well. But like she had to, unless she got comfortable getting online and putting that mess out there. So that's why I have,
because she cared about solving the problem for the people. Obviously, she was like, "This is a problem. I solved it. Let's make sure everybody else can get taken care of."
It's a painful problem that me and you, Kevin, we don't understand. We're not. That's not.
No.
You know what I'm saying? We don't appreciate that problem. But what I have respect for is for people that are willing to get on camera, that put themselves out there, and then go to town. And so yeah. So I appreciate that, and we get it, sir. Yeah, it's all good, guys. So. But no, anyway, so
well, I think that we covered some great stuff here. You know, we appreciate you having us on, and just it's been, you know, not very often that we get to connect with somebody who also understands these and are passionate about these things like human-centered design. Yeah. And, you know, so we really enjoyed cutting.
He was part of the VR hackathons that we've been in, and mutual friends. It's like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, did I meet Dylan before?
Maybe. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are talking. The MIT one is one of the largest hackathons I've ever been a part of. And there's just too many. And Dunn's bar number, you get about to 150, then everything breaks off.
Oh,
and then all the alcohol that they have there, you know. It's a stacking experience along the way. But I love this. But one thing I do want to touch about, and then we can start to wrap this up here, is you talked about you said you're doing videos inside the metaverse and you're doing things like that. What does that look like?
So I found a problem, which was all my friends didn't know about the metaverse and they didn't understand what was happening. And taking a picture doesn't really tell you what's happening, because the metaverse is a whole other level of human community connection. So I said, you know what, let me just start reporting and telling people about this, you know, showing my friends, because rather than get them behind a computer, like, I ended up setting it up so could just do a live stream and show them. And over time, you know, just built a community around this. And so just like highlighting artists, highlighting technology, going to events, like things of that nature. I think her battery, she lost her battery.
Oh no, her battery died. Oh no.
Man, you can join it here.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Okay, well, let's toggle it off. There you go. Hey, there we go.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it started as something I was just doing for fun, but then ended up being something like, the reality is that we're seeing history unfold right now with Web 3.0. And it's a whole other dimension, which people are going to want to look back and see history. So I started this channel called the Decentraland Report that was just recording history and showing that to people.
But is that is that on YouTube? Is that in VR chat? What is that?
You can watch it on YouTube, but it's in Decentraland, which is a metaverse. Like, it's based on the Ethereum network. And, you know, they're about to have their they're having a whole Christmas event. Like they're a metaverse, one of the sort of prominent first open metaverses like Sandbox or Somnium Space, but they're not in VR. It's just browser based. So yeah, if anybody wants to check it out, just go on my YouTube, just search Kevin on Earth.
That's cool, brother. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and there's these merging metaverses that are coming together with virtual reality and with the crypto space people, and they're starting to come together like this. And everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what is that magical thing? Is it a complete unique crypto? Is it mana? Is it NFTs plus this? It's like, what is those things, and what does that look like? Hey, welcome back, man. So glad you could make it back.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like Decentraland, yes, you can access it on a computer, but it is built on Unity. So like, if you've done VR before, you know that that's where it's going. But for now, it's like we're giving access to people who have a computer before even people who have headsets until we democratize that. But yeah, we're so excited about where this is going.
Yeah, it's weird. We really do live in the future. Like this is stuff that like we have 3D printers and we have this these crazy like machines that track your body and all this stuff. So it's really awesome.
Absolutely. I think we're in this transition period, and it's important that people like us are sharing that with other people, because before we know it, it's gonna go by, and there's gonna be so many people who had no clue that these things were happening, and they're going to have a hard time like coping and adjusting, and they're going to lose on a lot of opportunity within life, just not being aware of what's possible as humans now. It's just amazing.
My grandma's never been on the internet.
I'm sure she's doing great. I'm sure she's getting her stuff done.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around never been on the internet. Never been on the internet. I still struggle with that, but you're right. We're going to adapt and some of us, and the better you are at adapting to these technologies, the better you are, the better you can thrive in these places, right? Adapting to crypto, VR, all this stuff, which is wonderful. So with, all of this being said, is there anything else you'd like to let people know about before you tell them how to get a hold of you and how to get a hold of your company?
Let's see, man. What do you think? Happy holidays, number one. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I will say my motto and what I kind of, to any entrepreneurs out there or any creators out there who are looking to, maybe they're doing something for themselves right now. Maybe they're starting their own business. Just remember, you don't enjoy music waiting for the last note. You have to make sure that you enjoy the music as it takes place. Don't feel like you need to get to the end of the experience to know this is pretty awesome. You're having fun. Your experience is happening. So enjoy the holidays. Enjoy every step along the journey, and just make sure what you're creating you really believe in, and it'll serve itself.
I love it.
For me, what I would say is, for other fellow entrepreneurs, don't obsess about a solution that came to your mind, but try to think about how to solve a real problem. And I feel that today we try to cover what is human-centric design. And I feel that the world needs more of us who are trying to solve real problems than obsessing about our own ideas that during the way we could find out that they were not solving what we need to do. But other than that, encouraging your creativity and asking you to stay tuned, because I have a lot that I want to share with you, but I feel it's so early for that. But I can tell you where to find us.
Yeah.
We're active.
How do we find you?
Yes, our website is pointmotioncontrol.com. And you can get hold of us on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and it's Point Motion. So.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Kevin, Imen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate you being here, sharing your stories and your journeys. I have a blessed and beautiful day and a wonderful holiday. So I'll catch you all soon.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. See you on the other side. Bye now.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes of Reality podcast. Check out heroesofreality.com for more episodes. While you're there, you can also take the Heroes quiz to find out what kind of hero you are. Or, if you have a great story and want to be on the podcast, tell us why your hero's journey will inspire others. Thank you for listening. See you on the other side.